All right, well, I'll get us going then. Members of the public are advised that the meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the live stream recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located. We value the significance of the Wurundjeri people's history as essential to the unique character of the Shire. We pay tribute to all First Nations people living in Nillumbik, give respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. We respect the enduring strength of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and acknowledge the ongoing impacts of past trauma and injustices from European invasion, massacres and genocide committed against First Nations people. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people hold a deep and ongoing connection to this place. We value the distinctive place of our First Nations people in both Nillumbik and Australia's identity, from their cultural heritage and care of the land and waterways to their ongoing contributions in many fields, including academia, agriculture, art, economics, law, sport and politics. And I'll now hand over to Councillor Stockman to read the Good Governance Pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. As councillors, we are mindful of our civic responsibilities and obligations. We pledge to take them seriously and to carry them out with diligence and integrity. We know the decisions we take will affect the people and the environment of Nillumbik now and in the future. We undertake, therefore, to make good, sound and principled decisions of lasting value in a spirit of fairness and for the good of all. We also pledge to serve the needs and well-being of the community and the environment in an open and honest manner and to the best of our abilities.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. I'd now like to introduce Pastor Matthew Wyatt. Matt Wyatt has been a senior pastor at Manningham Christian Centre for 18 years, a lecturer, a pastoral counsellor, and proud husband of Anna and father to Shyla and Joshua. Matthew is an accomplished musician and recording artist, having performed locally and overseas, as well as a public speaker. Manningham Christian Centre is in the heart of Templestowe Village and celebrates its 43rd birthday next year. They launched an emergency food relief program called CareNet, which started as a cupboard stocked with non-perishable food and is now a registered charity. CareNet runs multiple models of food relief, diverting surplus food from local business and away from landfill and into resourcing local food relief efforts. As well as the 100 families a week that CareNet feeds, CareNet also supports 11 other charities with logistics and food resources, greatly increasing food security across Manningham, Banyule and Nillumbik. So, Pastor Matthew White, thank you.
Thank you for the privilege of allowing me to do this tonight. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we honour and thank you for this opportunity to come together and pray. We ask that you guide us and grow each member of our community. Father God, 2023 has been a big year. We pray that you would be with those who may be suffering and bring comfort and rest in this Christmas season. As we look toward new opportunities for 2024, help us hear your voice and listen to your guidance. I pray that you would guide decisions and give us wisdom as business owners and communities navigate great change. We invite you into every space and every area of our lives, that through your Spirit, others' lives would be healed and made whole. That as we each recognize diversity in thought and creativity, and in doing so, find solutions that are truly inspired by you. Heavenly Father, we commit this last meeting for 2023 into your hands. Let it bring glory to you in and through your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Wyatt. We have no apologies, which moves us on to declarations of conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest, councillors? No conflicts of interest. We have no presentations, so I'll move on to The minutes, confirmation of minutes, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. That Council confirms the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 28th of November 2023 in Attachment 1 and the extraordinary Council meeting held on Wednesday the 29th of November 2023 in Attachment 2.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Payne. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. There are no petitions, but we do have one question from the gallery. So we have a question from John Vacondo, who I can see is here with us today. Question 1. I refer to item 13 in the agenda of the previous OCM on the 28th of November in relation to the Arbiter's report, where he states he does not have the jurisdiction to consider a number of the allegations raised. Does any member of council or its employees intend to pursue any of these allegations further, or is the matter now closed? And the second question is, if it is intended that the matter will be pursued further by either a councillor or a council officer, what is the estimated total cost involved in this process that will be incurred by council, that is, ratepayers? And the response is, it would be inappropriate for council to comment on any potential future investigations. Any such matters would remain confidential, as it is crucial to uphold the integrity of the process and safeguard the interests of all parties involved. And that is the response to John Vacondo. That's the response to both questions. The next item is reports of advisory committees, and I will look for a motion.
Happy to move the motion
Councillor Payne.
that council notes the minutes of the advisory committee meeting reported as per attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Payne?
No.
Councillor Duffy?
Only to say that all of the advisory committees are really valued. They're all volunteers. There are some people from businesses who participate in our advisory committees. I won't go into the minutes of the particular ones that have been noted, but also to say that we're embarking on new chairs and council representatives on the committees, which is great. And so I look forward to continuing that work, as do, I'm sure, my councillor colleagues. So at the end of the year, I just think it's something that I'd like to give a shout out to all of the people who participate in our advisory committees, to say thank you for the valuable contribution that they make and the volunteer spirit that they have to help us in guiding our decision making.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the Draft Biodiversity Strategy 2024 to 2034 for public exhibition. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, I'd like to move this, that council endorses the Draft Biodiversity Strategy 2024 to 2034 for the purpose of community exhibition, invites written submissions on the Draft Biodiversity Strategy to council between the 1st of February and the 3rd of March 2024, considers public submissions at a future planning and consultation committee meeting, the date to be held on the 14th of May 2024, and notes that any person who requests to make a verbal submission in relation to the Draft Biodiversity Strategy 2024 to 2034 be heard at the 14th of May 2024 planning and consultation committee meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Payne. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I won't go into things in great detail, other than to say that this has been a fabulous piece of work to get this far. There's been lots of iterations and lots of opportunities for people to have participation. The focus areas that council will be looking at with this strategy looks at 2 goals. The biodiversity in Nillumbik is healthy, and the second goal, that Nillumbik's community values nature. And in the agenda paper, there are quite a few summary details here, talking about the community views that have been collected so far, the advisory committee, the officers of council that have put forward their views, some councillor comments, and then partnering with other government agencies. So, you know, I'd really like to encourage the community to have their feedback. The reason that this is not actually going out for community consultation tomorrow is that, you know, council's engagement policy looks at making sure that, we do that at a time when it's suitable for the community. And, with the Christmas holidays upon us very shortly, it doesn't make sense to go and ask people to give us their feedback now. So that's why this has been delayed until early next year, so that people can consider it now and they can give us their feedback in the future. And in just looking at some of the comments that I've had with residents of late, and even some of the social media posts, we love the wildlife that's here. There are wombats, there are echidnas, there are even koalas, wedge-tailed eagles. There's been a whole lot. So we want to protect that, and this biodiversity strategy is a step in the right direction to ensure that we do that. And the other factor for me that's really important is our tree canopy, both our urban tree canopy and as the green wedge, ensuring that we can continue to be the lungs of Melbourne. So I'll leave it for the community to go through the summary details that are in the report. There's lots of interesting information there, and encourage people to get behind Edendale Farm as well as a great local resource to consider purchasing some of the Indigenous plants if you're looking at doing some gardening over the summer and upcoming autumn period. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Payne?
Yes, I just want to reiterate the importance of the whole biodiversity strategy. I'd like to thank Chatterbox for the consultation they've done with the community. I'd particularly like to thank NGH Consulting. A couple of consultants came down and faced the robust and passionate Environmental Sustainable Advisory Committee, presenting evidence, and it must have felt like a firing squad more than once, but it's because people are passionate and they want to know what is going on. So I'd like to thank them for their work. I'd like to thank ESEC for their input, their robust discussion, and the realisation that in the end we are all working for the same outcome. Thank you to the community for their input as it comes in. And we at Council understand the challenges we face with biodiversity, but we equally understand the commitment we all have to caring for what we don't really own, but we're the custodians of. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll just speak to that one briefly. This really is an incredibly important strategy for this council. We are the Green Wedge Shire, and I think when we all finish up in a year's time, move on to the next council term, we can all look back and I think really be proud of this piece of work that we're doing, because this is what council is all about as the Green Wedge Shire. The draft is fantastic. It's been really well put together. There's a lot left to do. I don't think it's ready yet. There are things that need to change. I'm sure we'll get some valuable feedback from the community, as we have from our advisory committees, and that will all need to be worked into the draft. It's got a long way to go, but it's a really good starting position, and I'm sure that what we'll end up with will be a really high quality end product. So thank you to everyone involved in getting it to where it is now, and looking forward to where we can get it to in the coming months. So I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is our neighbourhood character strategy, consideration of adoption. So I'll look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Payne.
Again, I'd like to thank our council officers, particularly Rosa Zazoulis and Lee Northwood, for the cat herding exercise that this has been, this extraordinary iteration of many phases of the neighbourhood character strategy. It's been commented that people think this is a real estate document. It's not really, but people are very passionate about where they live and how they live. So I'd like to also thank Ethos Urban and Chatterbox Projects. Ethos Urban were the consulting firm that actually had to walk the streets and nominate what they thought the criteria were for the different neighbourhoods that we have, the local characters. And also to point out that the amendment to introduce the neighbourhood character strategy into the planning scheme won't be progressed until the housing strategy is completed next year. We're hoping for August next year. These two strategies work hand in hand. One asks how we deal with the pressure of housing, and the other, how do we build and how do we look and what does the future look like? None of us know how the state government will affect the planning scheme, but we do know that we're clear that we want to protect the various local characters that make up Nillumbik, and that's what this is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Duffy?
Thank you. I think these two items kind of go hand in hand, the biodiversity strategy and the neighbourhood character strategy, in the sense that the community that I am very proud to represent made these topics very clear to me before we were all elected, that saving community reserves was something that they wanted to see. They wanted to ensure that the reserves were not sold off by council in the previous council term, so that these pockets of places that provided habitat and refreshing amenity, were still available. So, in terms of the biodiversity strategy, that's looking at all those things across the Shire and in our urban areas. The neighbourhood character strategy, it fits in with that as well, because people were saying, we want to protect our neighbourhood character, we want to protect where we live. So not just the plants and animals, but the feel of Nillumbik. And so the work that's gone into the neighbourhood character strategy is very much that. It's helping provide planning protections to ensure that our neighbourhood character, definitions remain as we want them to be, and as things can't stay the same forever. There's always going to be change, and we know that, but we're able to help influence the change so it's not dramatically out of place. I'd just like to read a moment from the officer's report here, just for those that are at home, that the neighbourhood character strategy is an important policy document for council to protect neighbourhood character through the planning scheme. The draft neighbourhood character strategy, the attachment that is available to the community in the agenda, places an emphasis on protection and enhancement of vegetation in preferred character profiles, noting the design guidelines in the neighbourhood character strategy, which support the contribution of vegetation in each precinct, include the requirements to support such things as the following. So each precinct is provided with a recommended density of canopy vegetation. There is a preference for low to no front fencing and identification of a colour palette. Thirdly, an appropriate setbacks are recommended to allow a suitable level of vegetation to be protected and established, and definitions are established to clearly identify the role and intent of that vegetation within the landscape. So, our neighbourhood character strategy is not just about buildings, it's how we live in our landscape. So, I thank the community for the input that they've had so far, and to the organisations and council officers that have pulled it together, and look forward to the next stage, because this neighbourhood character strategy replaces something that was 20 years old. So it was time for this to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. I support what Councillor Payne and Councillor Duffy have said. It's such an important document, and I'm very happy to support this. Without the community's input, it wouldn't be as it is either. So thank you to everyone, and for persisting, because this has been, I think it's 4th year in train. So that's a long time to get it to this point. So thank you to all involved.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the future dates for the Nillumbik Community Awards, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. That Council resolves to hold the Nillumbik Community Awards in August each year.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. So this motion is around giving council officers some flexibility to choose a Thursday in August that best fits with council, the availability at the Altham Community Reception Centre, and our community and their events. So an example that's also been in the officer report is there's been a clash with the dates for the Altham Rotaries Art Show. So to avoid clashes, particularly for them, with other competitive art shows, council is being flexible with the Thursday in August to allow for the art show as an example. So our community awards this year was an amazing evening and highlighted all the wonderful community members we have, and congratulations to all that were nominated. We had a lot of nominations this year, all wonderful candidates, and then those who won the awards. And I truly look forward to our event next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Egan? Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the council-owned residential building at 385 Eltham Yarra Glen Road, Kangaroo Ground. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move the recommendation that council resolves to demolish the residential building on the land known as council-owned residential building 385 Eltham Yarra Glen Road, Kangaroo Ground.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Payne.
Yes, so this particular item is in the Mayor's ward and would have been moved by the Mayor, I assume, but of course he can't move the motion, so I'll do that. Why are we demolishing a house that was built, I guess, around the 50s? It's because it's no longer fit for purpose. I should point out this is not the original stone caretaker's cottage. That is undergoing restoration work as we speak. This is a house that's been leased out since the 50s, has recently become vacant, and inspections have established that it's no longer fit for purpose and would cost somewhere in the vicinity of $480,000 to restore. Money that we don't have, unfortunately. So, yes, that's hence the motion to have it demolished and to hopefully open up that property for more parking or other uses for the facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? I'll speak to this one briefly, given it's in my ward. Look, I'd like to thank the outgoing and all previous caretakers who've lived in that house. They've done good work, kept the park going, and they've been very, very valuable. The house is currently unoccupied. Unfortunately, it is not in a good state, as Councillor Payne mentioned. What we're making here now is a good, sound financial decision. It would cost far too much council money to repair the house or rebuild it. And given current technology and the capacity of council, it's well within our capability and much cheaper to go down the path of maintaining that park without a caretaker. So while it seems like a bit of an end of an era when we don't have a caretaker for the park anymore, it will not be neglected. It will continue to be looked after by council. We will make sure of that because it really is a very special place for so many people. So again, I'd like to thank the outgoing caretaker, and I look forward to seeing what we end up doing with this land when there's no longer a building on it. So I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the quarterly risk and safety report. So I will look for a mover. Councillor Payne.
Looks like it's me. Happy to move the motion that council notes the summary of the confidential risk and safety report as per attachment 1 for the quarter ending September 2023, and 2 resolves that the attached risk and safety report as per attachment 1 remains confidential in accordance with section 31A and F of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Oh, I think Councillor Eyre's hand went up first. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Just to reiterate that this is the ongoing work that our council officers do to make sure that we note what's going on in the Shire in terms of risk and safety, and that we are keeping metrics on what's happening in the Shire so that we can maintain a good quality safety record. And I thank our council officers for the work they do.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Just very quickly, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that this risk and safety report broadly reports on risk management, business continuity, anti-fraud and corruption control, insurance premiums, incident management and insurance claims, occupational health and safety, and strategic risk. There's a summary report in there. So it's all really important. What I think for me that stands out is that this is to become business as usual, which is really important. It's not a standalone item, that that goes across all offices in all areas, and that's really important for safety. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the Audit and Risk Committee meeting for November 2023, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move the motion as per the papers, Mayor Rabdurant.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Payne.
Yes, this is my chance to move the motion and pay my respects and thanks to the Audit and Risk Committee. I think that was my last meeting for the Audit and Risk Committee, but they do incredibly important work. This is the sharp end of the running of any institution when external directors come in and have a good look at the finances, the operations, the whole works of the council. And I do note that as per point 8, we continue to exercise sustainable and responsible financial management in an ever-changing and ever-changing and changeable environment. So I thank the work of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting, and more strength to them.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the Nillumbik Integrated Transport Strategy Community Consultation, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Stockman.
Yes, happy to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy. Councillor Stockman.
Just like to say, over the past 20 years, Nillumbik Shire Council has adopted 3 specific integrated transport strategies. The purpose of these strategies is to provide strategic direction, and the 3 were adopted in 2001, 2010 and 2014, so it's due for a new one.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. With the integrated transport strategy, this community consultation is valuable. I'm very conscious of the need for more bus shelters at our bus stops. I'm constantly hearing from people of all ages and feeding that back into council that in order to travel on public transport, we need to make it enjoyable and safe. And the feedback that I'm getting and what I'm actually seeing, lots of people at our bus stops waiting in the sun, waiting in the rain, kids trying to get to school, and you know, if we're wanting to try and encourage more people to use public transport, we need to be able to provide the infrastructure to go with the service. So we can have the service, we can have the frequencies, but if it's a real drag to catch a bus, or in Nillumbik, you know, people are not going to be wanting to do it. So, and this is not just for young kids attending high school, it's for older people as well. I've had older residents telling me that it's dangerous for them waiting at bus stops because, you know, they're standing on gravel and it's, you know, all sorts of graduations and dents in the rocky gravel. So, you know, I'm hearing what people are saying, and I'm really going to encourage everybody to have their say in this community consultation. Please, if you've said it before, please say it again so that we can hear it again. It can be formally put into the document, because I'm hoping that the kids that are in Year 7 catching school buses to school are able to get those school buses, get the shelters while they're still at high school, rather than all of those kids who have contacted me that have out since left school in the last couple of years. So I really hope that we can help advocate for improvements, not just in the frequency, but in the infrastructure that's provided with the public transport in this area. I think that's all I'll say there. I hope that more bus shelter advocacy that people are asking me for is coming out loud and clear here. So community, please do your bit and have your say in this community consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. I think also too, with this strategy, we're looking at the Climate Action Plan and how we can ensure sustainable transport outcomes across the Shire. So that will be part of the questions, but also that we want to actually know, so if we've got bus shelters, that we actually have a bus that comes to them as well. So I know that there's areas within the Shire that do not have buses that come to it, and I think that this is where we need to hear communities' voices loud and clear on this, because not everyone can access a train station easily as well, to get to part-time work, to get to jobs, all different things within the Shire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? Councillor Egan.
Thank you. What Councillor Eyre was referring to was parts of my ward and the Mayor's ward where we actually have bus shelters but no buses, so it's a little bit in reverse. But I beg and plead every single rural resident that complains to me all the time about no bus routes, if you could please get involved in this consultation if you do nothing else, because we really, really need it down there. And my number 5 child has finally finished school, but I know there's a lot more kids out there. So please, everybody get involved, and we might actually get a bus one day.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Well, we've all spoken about buses, but I might add to the sentiment, particularly in the rural areas and particularly for young people who can't drive yet, and also people who want to age in place. We really do need bus services to make sure that everybody can get around. It's only fair and equitable. So I'd certainly like to see some more bus services and to see us advocating for that as well. It is part of our advocacy priorities. And we're doing similar advocacy through the Northern Councils Alliance for better bus connections. And I hope this strategy can help play into that. When we release the consultation, which will be done early next year, similar to what Councillor Duffy said regarding the biodiversity strategy, we're holding off on doing that over the Christmas and New Year period so that we can make sure everybody has a real opportunity to have their say. But when we do release this for consultation, there's a very well-written issues and options paper which really does lay out some important stats and talks to other council strategies and plans, including the Climate Action Plan. I was very impressed with it when I read it, and in fact, if that was our integrated transport strategy, I'd be relatively pleased, to be honest. But it really will lay a good foundation for this consultation, and if that paper's anything to go by, then we're going to end up with a really well-written and strong strategy. So thank you to everyone who's brought it this far. I will put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the proposed special charge scheme for Lorimer Road, Wattle Glen. I will look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to put up a recommendation as per the papers, and I'll go into that into my discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
Yes, so many of the residents of Lorimer's Road will be very pleased to see this. It relates to the section of Lorimer's Road from Reynolds Road all the way back down to the Wattle Glen Road, which is the bad bit, as I call it. It's dirt road, it's steep, it's got blind corners, and we now have over 60% of the residents willing to go into the special charge scheme with this. The rest of it, the straight bit, won't be included. I think the rest of the points there are self-explanatory. So there'll be a moratorium put on the rest of Lorimer's Road. Perhaps those residents, once they see this end done, they might change their minds, but at the moment that's what it's going to be. So I'm sure they're very happy to support this one.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, very happy to support this work that officers in the community have been doing together. It's taken a long time. It's probably 3 years in the making now. Obviously hit by COVID, and there was a bit of a stop-start approach for quite some time. But it's good to see it is being progressed, and I hope that community does work with officers to finalise the scheme and get to an outcome that at least 60% of the residents in the proposed scheme are comfortable with. Otherwise, it'll falter at the last hurdle. But I think it certainly will benefit all those residents from the Reynolds Road end. Really, it's the bit at Kangaroo Glen end that's not going to be sealed. That's the real sort of, probably the worst section of the road, I would say, unfortunately. But the residents that end don't want it. So that's the one that is heavily eroded. You could, trucks come off the road and get stuck in the ditch there. I've noticed. But the other end of the road, it's heavily utilised. There are large vehicles that often frequent that road, and as long as the community there, all those at least 14 people continue to support it, it'll go through, but it looks like if one of those 14 drop off, it won't proceed. So anyway, I hope it does. Thank you, and happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? I'll just do that one more time. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the tender report for the curbside recycling processing, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Yes, just to reiterate that curbside recycling is a critical part of Council's work, and with the new state government body Recycling Victoria being formed to oversee this incredibly important part of council function, we will be looking at recycling and waste management and the whole circular economy thing. It becomes more and more important for councils. So this is vitally important, and I am very pleased that we have a preferred tenderer that can provide this service.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously, and Councillor Payne will name the tenderer.
So, I'll move the resolution that Council 1 accepts the tender submitted by the preferred tenderer, Cleanaway Proprietary Limited, for the schedule of rates disclosed as per attachment 1, and enter into the following contract. Do I read the whole thing? Basically, it's congratulations to Cleanaway Proprietary Limited.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. The next item is the tender report for the Hurstbridge Men's Shed construction. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the recommendation as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Seconded, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
Yes, I'm over the moon, to put it mildly, over this. This has been a long, long time coming, 8 years on council, and this is finally, in fact, I met Fran, or Councillor Eyre, when she was working at council on this issue. That's how we first met. There are a wonderful bunch of individuals in Hurstbridge who've basically been living where they could find a spare space to hang up a hammer, and to have this finally begin and to be finished by August next year. No hold-ups, I hope. Vincent? Is really, really exciting. I know they're all over the moon, so I couldn't be happier about this finally getting off the ground, and we have another men's shed to add to our arsenal, and I think there's even some women that will be joining this one as well, so very exciting to see. Couldn't be happier.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, it is good to see this one finally get to this final stage, which this is the most important part where we allocate the tender. Congratulations to Councillor Egan, who has been working very hard in this space, and for all of Hurstbridge, I think, for many years, from what I've seen. Also, it's probably just worth noting where does the money come from. Victorian Government Growing Suburbs Fund have contributed $364,000. Council will allocate some money. The Bendigo Bank is allocating some money as well. So it certainly wouldn't have kicked off and wouldn't have proceeded to this stage without the support of the Victorian Government, the Growing Suburbs Fund, and that's a fund that have really been behind many of the major capital works projects in Nillumbik for the last 6 or 8 years, I think, and this is another one that although it doesn't provide all the money, it certainly gets things going, and there's some other arrangements. Council will have to contribute a fair bit of cash into it. But that's what happens. It's certainly come out more expensive than we envisaged throughout the process, but that's nothing new, unfortunately. It's just the way that things go, rising costs. But happy to support the motion to award the tender.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really pleased to see this come to this stage, and just really happy for residents of Nillumbik, because it means that we now have a fourth shed. Although Hurstbridge has been functioning for some time, the facilities have been quite small, so they've been struggling to increase their membership. So we have Eltham, Diamond Creek, Hurstbridge and St Andrews, which means that and they all run different programs as well, or projects, and have different demographics for all different experiences. So this is fantastic for Nillumbik, because if one doesn't suit, they'll find another that meets their needs. So I just think that this is fantastic. And I met their president last week, which was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy?
Thank you. I support the recommendation, and I'd just like to make a comment about men's sheds and the value that they provide in our community. Yesterday I spent a number of hours at the Eltham Men's Shed, and today I spent a number of hours at the Diamond Creek Men's Shed. And both of these organisations do offer points of difference, as Councillor Eyre was mentioning, but they also very much serve a function which is similar, in that it's a place of belonging, a place of support, not just for the members themselves, but the great work that they do within the community to support individuals, families and people across the Shire. There's so many areas, I won't go into it all, but one of the things yesterday at the Eltham Men's Shed was, not just do they have woodwork and metalwork and a bicycle repair, etc. There's a genealogy session. There are computer classes that are provided. There are opportunities to go away, but there are also mental health sessions that are run as well. And at Diamond Creek, today they had a Christmas party, and the men provided lunch, and they did a great job. And there's just so much joy in these places of community. And whilst it is a men's shed, I didn't quite get it at the beginning. Before I was a councillor, I was quite thinking, this isn't, why is it just for men? Where's the shed? Where's the place for women? But these are a great place for men, and I do support men having a place that they can go. And I do acknowledge the change that's happening at Hurstbridge as well, that, Hurstbridge with the numbers, it's actually, council put out a post on social media last week, and it was the Hurstbridge Community Hub almost, and it was a place for men and women. So looks like there might be a bit of a change happening at Hurstbridge, but I very much support the concept of men's sheds and the concepts of having places for our community to go, because we all need places to belong, and we all see the benefit that volunteers provide within our community across so many different areas. So yeah, well done. It's great to get this far. Congratulations, Councillor Egan, on your advocacy for this for many years. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Stockman?
I'd like to congratulate the Hurstbridge Men's Shed and everyone involved in that, but also I'd like to have a big shout out for the Eltham District Woodworkers, who actually have a link to men's sheds, and they provide a very similar service, and that's in Yarrambat, and it's just bursting at the seams. There's so many people involved, and that's a very good club.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. Will Councillor Payne speak and make it a full house?
I concur with everything that's just been said.
As do I concur with everything that's just been said, and really pleased to see this project progressing. There we go, 7 out of 7. Always good to see. I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously.
And one thing remains.
And Councillor Egan will name the preferred tenderer.
And the preferred tenderer is Unlimited Commercial Constructions Proprietary Limited, as per what's on the screen. So I'm going to be holding them to the 31st of August. Just letting you know, Chief Operating Officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. The next item is the tender report for the Nillumbik Youth Hub redevelopment works. And I will look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
I'll move the motion as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor
Happy
Egan.
to second.
Councillor Perkins.
Thank you. This is this is a tender to award the contract for the redevelopment of what was formerly the Diamond Creek Senior City Centre. So an aged building that has been in need of a bit of TLC for quite some time. It did function okay as a senior sits, but certainly the needs are different for a youth hub. So there's extensive works inside and outside that will happen as a result of this tender. It's reasonable to say that costs have continued to grow and grow. And this has been a fairly short-lived program. We only received state government funding for Nillumbik's first youth hub mid this year, so it wasn't that long ago, and we received $300,000 from the Victorian state government's youth hubs grant program. So that kicked it off. We've also got $155,000 from the federal government, the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program. I understand that's a federal government program, so there's certainly state and federal money being put into this. And also, by the look of the dollar amount that we'll announce in a few minutes, certainly significant amounts of money, the majority from council and ratepayers, which we'll have to find. We've got our Chief Operating Officer working very hard in the background, and our Chief Financial Officer very, very hard to find that money. But I'm sure we will. It's Nillumbik's first youth hub. I'm sure it'll be a success. If it's not, we're still going to have a great building as a result of these works. There are still other things that need to happen in Diamond Creek further down the track, whether that be a library or moving of living and learning. I'm hopeful that the youth hub concept will kick off and it'll be a fantastic success. But even if it's not, doing these works to a council building will be good value in the long run. So I'm very supportive of this motion and the tender being awarded. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan?
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't turn mine off. Yes, as I mentioned before, my number 5 child's just finished, and I know 3 out of my 5 would have loved to have had something like this to go to in the Shire. Not every kid is into sport. Not every kid is into music. They all are into different things, as I can attest to only too well. And a youth hub captures the different demographic to the ones that are, your academics and your sporting kids. So it's just fantastic. There's a lot of kids out there, not that many people would know, that are couch surfing. We have a lot of kids that are actually living off the street, but they're living with other kids. And we've got far more numbers than people actually realise. So to see something like this finally realised is just fantastic for Nillumbik, and I think it'll be the start of another one somewhere down the track, because I don't think we'll be able to actually cater to the numbers that this will be able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Support, yes. So more than happy to support Councillor Perkins and all the other councillors in this, because I think it's fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. I too am really happy to support this. I think our young people certainly need a place to meet, and I think Councillor Egan was spot on in saying that not all young people are sporty and do all the same things. And I think we already know that this location is perfect. We know that young people, some of them hang out at McDonald's, not all of them do, but they hang around the train station. It's accessible because with limited public transport in Nillumbik, as we heard earlier with the item. So being walking distance from the train station and an area that young people like to already hang out with is a win-win, in addition to all the wonderful features that are going to go on in this building. So I'm just really, really, really pleased for our young people. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the work of the Youth Council. We've had a lot of people provide feedback and get us to this point with our general community consultation, but this has been a driver for our Youth Council. The Youth Council only started a couple of years ago. We've just got our 3rd Youth Mayor, and this project has been at the heart and centre of what our Youth Council have been asking for, and to be able to see this enlivened so quickly for them, I think is a wonderful achievement. So it's kind of a coming together of goodwill, good planning, good strategy, and the money coming at the right time. So I'm really happy for the Youth Council that they can see this project come to fruition in their short time, because sometimes things like this take many, many years, as would be known by the council officers who've been, hopeful that something like this would happen in Nillumbik for many, many years. So, all round, I'd just like to congratulate the Youth Council for the part that they've played in coming together with the look and the feel and the services that will be provided from this youth hub.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll speak to that one briefly. I think this is a fantastic project, and I'm so excited to see it progressing. I think we're all well aware that we're facing a mental health epidemic among young people right now, particularly following COVID. Working at a youth mental health organisation myself, I know the importance of that, and I think as an organisation we have a real responsibility to look after mental health in our community. The last item was about the Hurstbridge Men's Shed, looking after the mental health of men, particularly men who are retired. And this is about the mental health of our young people, which is critically important right now. The Youth Hub will provide the mental health services that our young people need. It's local, it's easy to get to for most people in the Shire. Perhaps some people in my ward and some of the rural areas will find it a little bit more tricky, unfortunately, and we do need to consider that and work on that. But this is a fantastic step in the right direction in terms of supporting the mental health of our young people. And so I'm really, really pleased to see it progressing, and I'm looking forward to seeing it launch and seeing the real benefit that it can bring to our community. So I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. And we can do the jazz hands if we want to celebrate. It is a particularly exciting one. And I'll now ask Councillor Perkins to name the successful tenderer.
Thank you. The successful tenderer, congratulations to CA Property Group Proprietary Limited. The sum is $1,277,486.10 plus $191,622.92 for contingency, inclusive of GST. And the contract details are as per the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. The next item is the tender report for the Urban Congestion Fund, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Happy to move the motion, Mayor Amtran, as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
So this is the contract awarded for the continuation of the Urban Congestion Fund. This is particularly works happening on Prior and Arthur Streets and St Lawrence Lane and Main Road, Eltham. And it will literally lift our streets in more ways than one. It makes it safer for people to move around and encourage people to move around and to walk our activity centres. The Urban Congestion Fund has been delivered by our traffic team. Shout out to Lawrence Sayers for the work he's been doing for many, many years to deliver various works there. And this is all about getting people out of our cars and returning the streets to people. So I look forward to seeing the works happen and the facelift it gives Eltham.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. This was one of those projects or works that had an extensive community engagement program as well, which engaged with so many residents in Nillumbik, in particular in Eltham, which I thought was fantastic. But this works, as Councillor Payne said, will help with the raised pedestrian crossings, which will allow for pedestrians, particularly those with wheels as well, prams, mobility walkers, wheelchairs, bikes, to actually walk straight from the footpath across the road without actually having to go down onto the road and then come back up again. And I've seen and experienced it myself where I've tried walking with pushing something and it's gotten caught. So this will provide a safe opportunity for pedestrians to cross the roads, in addition to congestion busting with traffic. So it's fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously, and Councillor Payne will name the preferred tenderer.
And I would like to congratulate Prestige Paving Proprietary Limited for their work for the sum of $899,288.79, plus a contingency of $134,893.32. Looking forward to some Prestige Paving. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. The next item is the tender report for Alistair Knox Park Universal Design Access and Landscaping Works. And I'll look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Happy to do that, thank you. I'll say as per the papers, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to
Councillor
second.
Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, this toilet block upgrade has been a long time coming. I know, having used them myself, I was in and out very quickly for various reasons. So we've known that the toilets were not up to scratch and non-compliant with current accessibility regulations, and it's also been leaking and other things. And it's been closed for some time, so it certainly needed to be replaced. So Council was able to secure funding to design and install a new changing places facility, which ensures modern, clean and safety and a safe facility. And this is exciting for Nillumbik because the Changing Places facility will be Nillumbik's first registered facility. It comprises of fully accessible toilets and changing space that include motorised equipment to allow users of all abilities to access the facilities. One of the changing rooms and toilet space, I don't know if I've used the right terminology there, but has an MLAC key, and that's MLAK key, and is available to anyone with a disability, and you're able to apply for the key, and there is a one-off payment for that, but you get full access to all accessible change facilities across Australia. So this is a universal key, and so Nillumbik will have one of these facilities, and it gets registered on a website for people who are travelling. People within Nillumbik get to actually access this facility, and it's specific for people with additional needs. It'll have the Changing Places facility, 2 standard accessible toilets, 4 toilet cubicles, and a new services connection, which is really important. We certainly don't want any leakages happening. There'll be revised accessible parking and new accessible paths that lead into the toilet facility, but also to the playground and other areas within that space, so that everyone can use them comfortably. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Just wanted to add that some have asked why is it more prominent. It's because it's going to be moved closer to the playground, it feels safer, it becomes part of the park facilities, and it's got increased surveillance, so it's not hidden away. It's key to the whole park at the Alistair Knox facilities, and I very much look forward to it being constructed and used by the community.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, I'm chair of the Inclusion and Access Advisory Committee, and that committee in particular has been very excited to work through the plans with officers and community and get to where we are now. Someone needs to move a bit. The lights have just gone out, so if I get Joe's hands going, I'm sure we've still got power because the screen's still working. I can still hear myself, which is the main thing, and the clock is still going. I'll stop rambling. What I was going to say, the Alistair Knox Park is a beautiful park. You know, it's one of the best in the Shire. It's built on, and these toilets were built on what was the former Shire of Eltham tip. So it's a landfill site, and it's if you have a look at historical photos, it looks very, very different now to what it once was. It's superbly located, you know, close to the train station, our iconic Eltham Library, the Central Oval and all the facilities there. Lots of car parking, very, very close to the activity centre and the shops. There's going to be some artwork. I haven't seen the final designs for artwork. I know that officers have been working with the arts department and with community to get some appropriate artwork, both outside and, as I understand, inside as well, to make it a more soothing and less uncomfortable experience for people who struggle a bit when going to public facilities, particularly the part of the toilet that's locked off. The changing places part is what I'm thinking. Yeah, and it is appropriate, I think, to put some artwork on that. Just an aside, I've been advocating for quite a while, and I know officers are aware of, my design, the Diamond Creek's desire to have new toilets in Elizabeth Street, Diamond Creek, again on the edge of the activity centre, but these ones are in Diamond Creek, and there was a suggestion that we could make that look a bit better by installing some artwork, and my response to that was, don't put lipstick on a pig. Those toilets aren't accessible, they need to go. It's not worth investing good money, throwing good money after bad on poor facilities, and that's exactly what's happened in Eltham. It wasn't worth trying to renovate and rejuvenate the toilet block there in Elsa Knox Park, and we hope that this is a model for moving forward, for providing good, accessible, and hopefully facilities that can be maintained graffiti free, because a lot of the older facilities, they just don't lend themselves to being maintained properly, because they weren't constructed when tagging was an issue, and it certainly is now. So we have to keep all those things in mind moving forward. So thank you. But it's a great outcome, and I'm sure the people throughout Nillumbik and beyond will be very happy when they see these facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you. I know we're talking about toilets, but we all need them, and for those who have special needs, this is really important. So I'm proud that our council is moving ahead to have toilets such as these, and it's been a delight working with Councillor Perkins and the team of on the Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee for the last 12 months. They are very excited about this, and there are lots of people who do have intimate knowledge of what it's like to live with disability, and whether you're young or old, being able to get to the toilet is a basic human right. And so to be able to provide facilities that enable you to go with comfort is important. And I look forward to seeing what these toilets will look like. I look forward to using them, and I look forward to us looking at other toilets, as you were mentioning, the toilets in Diamond Creek. The Eltham North Adventure Playground toilets come to mind. Like, it's just not a pleasant experience, even though they're functional. There are all sorts of issues. So, bit by bit, council will get through the priority list, and at the moment, I'm very pleased to see that Alistair Knox Park is going to have some brilliant new toilets, because the ones that were there weren't working very well for quite a long time. So, look forward to these toilets. And I don't want to talk about toilets anymore. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. And we'll now name the successful tenderer. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. It is Regal Innovations Proprietary Limited. Do I need to read out the sum? I'll probably read it out wrong, but it's $546,480 plus $81,972,000 for a contingency. It's inclusive of GST. So congratulations to Regal Innovations.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. The next item is the Diamond Valley Library Outdoor Space Rejuvenation. Councillor Stockman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. I'll look for a seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Egan. Councillor Stockman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd first like to say they had their 50-year anniversary on Saturday, and unfortunately I had missed it, but I did see that it was well attended by the councillors. I do go to a lot of events where there's just single councillors there, and certainly it's good to have some representation there. But I want to talk a bit about the history first of the Diamond Valley Library, and the community was divided back in 1972, this community where we sit right now, when a modern library for Greensborough was first proposed. And this is a quote from the local paper. Don't always believe the local papers. It said, many local residents believe that the public soon will own a library, but no one will ever use it. And that was the Diamond Valley News back in 21st of March 1972. Well, the proposed location played a role in this division, but the Shire of Diamond Valley proceeded with their plans and opened a temporary library in the basement of the new Civic Centre. Greensborough Library opened on the 6th of December 1973 with a staff of 4 and a collection of 1,100 books. A series of linked spaces, each with a study or den-like atmosphere, featured coffered-style ceilings set between timbered beams with warm black bean plywall panelling. A corner window area adjacent to the entrance was created as a reading lounge area, provided a view to southern views across the hills towards the city, and they are magnificent views. By May 1979, the library was the busiest branch in the Heidelberg Regional Service, with about 60 new members being enrolled each week. Collections in Dutch, French, German, Italian and Spanish were added. Just want to touch on the motion here. Following a recent upgrade of the Diamond Valley Library internal space, and I think most of you who have seen it's quite spectacular, Council, together with the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Service, is looking to upgrade the outdoor space to achieve a vibrant, exciting, educational, multifunctional play space. Both projects, the internal upgrade and this works intended under this tender, underwent community consultation via Participate Nillumbik and bring together the input from our community. These works are to be complemented. These works are to complement the recent upgrade of the Diamond Valley Library internal space. Works will involve the construction of the outdoor space at the Diamond Valley Library, including the following, but not limited to: landscaping, supporting amenities, seating, drinking fountain, bins, etc., supply and installation of feature items, fencing, footpath, and DDA ramp and signage.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. Councillor Egan?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as Councillor Stockman alluded to, the birthday celebrations on Saturday were attended by myself and Councillor Duffy, and we also had Councillor Alison Champion, who's another library member board from Banyule. What he didn't know was that it was a 50s theme, and I have some fantastic video, if anybody'd like to see, of our library CEO getting up and doing the jazz. We had the amazing Diamond Creek Choir, who I must say I've missed in all my years of being on council, and we need to use them more often. It was fantastic. We had cakes, we had kids, we had face painting, we had a soundless disco. Again, I haven't been to one of those. Bubble blowing. It was a fantastic day, even though the weather was horrendous. The parking was horrendous. It was the night after that terrible storm. We had piglets, we had ducks and chickens and all sorts of things. What is going to be in the upgrade to add to the fantastic renovation in the library next door, we're going to have a tree house. There's disability ramps for those kids who have special needs. There's also a fantastic sensory garden for little kids sort of 5 and under, so special things that are planted for kids to smell and taste and touch, which will be wonderful. And all in all, there'll be a new shed, but it's going to block out all those awful new houses, and we'll have some beautiful landscaping so that the kids will be in a place that's just completely garden and outdoor. Quite an amazing place. It sort of adds to the theme of tonight for old and young, and this is sort of young kids, so I love spending money when it's not my own, so this is really lovely. What I don't know is where we actually got all the funding from. Corinne, can you answer me that? You can't either. It doesn't say. I know some of it was from the state government and our library. Was it all from the library grant?
Is that through the chair, Councillor?
Yeah, through the chair. It was, and I'm just not sure the breakdowns. It wasn't in the papers, or if it is, I've missed it.
Through the chair, yes, it was state government, the YPRL contribution, as well as council contribution. So we've got here the state government Growing Suburbs Fund.
That's it.
YPRL, the local roads and community infrastructure, as well as council.
Yeah, it was lots of little bits and pieces. It's not a huge sum, but it's going to be an amazing thing when finished. So it's really, really pleased to see it done, and it's going to be done very, very quickly. I think by April. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, very, very, very happy to support this project, Diamond Valley Library, as we knew it. I remember when it was built. I grew up in Apollo Parkways. We moved to Apollo Parkways in the mid 70s, and at the time the Don Valley Sports and Fitness Centre had just been built. There was a BMX track, or a number of BMX tracks on the side of the current library, and they used to have competitive races there every Saturday morning, I believe it was. The library itself, the old Diamond Valley Library, was downstairs of the current council offices, so that was quite a large library for its time. Then the new library was built, Diamond Valley Library as we know it, and that was part of a broader plan by the Shire of Diamond Valley to make this the arts precinct. So that's why there was the Outdoor Performance Centre, and there was a library, and it was very much supporting the arts. The Diamond Valley Art Collection was well renowned. So, you know, the former Shire of Diamond Valley was certainly doing some good things in the day, and that library was one of them. Now, I'm on the library board quite happily. I've attended my first meeting last week for a 2-hour meeting that went for 3 hours plus. Very, very busy, very committed officers and board members there at the library board, and it's a pleasure to be part of that board. But they're certainly very, very excited about the renovations too. The recent renovations that have been done to the library itself, but also this new project, you know, working outside. Probably just do have to acknowledge the sort of monies that the state government and others have put in. State Government Growing Suburbs Fund, $438,243, or $438,243. Yarra Plenty Regional Library Service have put in $80,000, and the Local Roads to Community Infrastructure Fund, $140,000. And council will pick up the rest. But very exciting project. I couldn't help but mention during the library board meeting when we're talking about some of these great libraries that we have, and it's not just about improving the inside, it's now the outside as well. And I couldn't help but mention that we do need to be cognizant of the fact that much of Nillumbik is serviced by a mobile library, and unfortunately, I don't, you know, hopefully it's work in progress, but I don't really think that we've paid enough attention as a council to where this mobile library sets up. It's virtually sets up at a car park or somewhere that's easy for the bus to pull in and leave, but we haven't really done any landscaping or any work that supports. Beg your pardon? Oh yes, with power, yeah. But
up there,
yeah, it's work we need to do to make the outdoor spaces of the mobile library improve those as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. I just want to say that I love our libraries. And I'm sure everybody knows this, but libraries are no longer a place where you just borrow books or read books, and they're no longer quiet places where the librarian tells everyone to shh, because there's lots of things going on. Many programs are run in the libraries, everything from book clubs, learning new skills, making new friends, art exhibitions, after school and school holiday programs. There's something for everybody, in addition to borrowing books and videos and all those kind of things. I think they're amazing space, and also need to acknowledge the Hurstbridge Hub has a little mini pop-up there as well, where you can order books and have them delivered there, or drop off books there as well. So that's also fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I'll say that being on the Yarra Plenty Regional Libraries Board has been one of the joys of my time here at council. I've spent 2 years working with the team at YPRL, and this is, you know, it's an organisation of vision. The community and customer service is at the centre of everything that they do. So on Saturday, when we were there for the 50th birthday party, it was just great to see the joy and, you know, the expression of the staff. Jane Cowell, as the CEO, does a remarkable job. Tracy, the branch manager at Diamond Valley. She was there all dressed up in like 1970s gear. She's been working at the library for over 30 years. So this is a place that people want to go and to work at, and they love working in the environment here, and they provide a great service to our community. So I just want to remind everybody that's watching the live stream at home that going to the library is free. It's a place that's cool in summer, it's warm in winter. There's tea and coffee. There, as Councillor Eyre was saying, there are lots of programs, and it is quite a wonderful place to go. It's very different to the libraries of my childhood. One of the staff members, Jackie, at the Diamond Valley Library, she does an intergenerational story time, and there's a combination of older folk that go to the library and children from the nearby Diamond Hills preschool. Last week, with the really wet weather, there was plans for the preschool children and the older folk to have a combined lunch. The kids from the preschool usually walk down. That was impossible with the rain, so the older folk hopped on the bus and they went to the school. And so this is the flexibility and the nimbleness that comes with libraries that I'm noticing more and more. So, I'd just like to say that I support this outdoor rejuvenation, and, libraries are very much indoor and outdoor places. So congratulations to the team at YPRL and those that are involved in getting us to this point. It's kind of like tying the bow on a well-wrapped gift. The recent renovations that have taken place at the library make this a beautiful place to be part of. There are reading pods, there's an IT area. If you haven't been to the Diamond Valley Library for quite some time, do yourself a favour and pop in during the school holidays or during the week. The library hours are very accommodating these days. So, thanks to council and the team for putting this together, and for the money that's coming from the state. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the tender report for the Photography and Videography Services Panel. And I thought I was going to remember all of them this time. Missed one. We are going to first name the successful tenderer for the Diamond Valley Library.
The successful tender is Yellowstone Landscaping to the sum of $752,466.07 plus $75,246.61 for contingency.
Thank you, Councillor Stockman. And we will now move on to the tender report for the Photography and Videography Panel. And I will look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to put a recommendation as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan.
Yes, this is to the uninformed eye, a very, very complicated tender. I think we had a record number of tenderers, certainly up near was over 22, I think, from memory. Lots of different categories, quite complicated. Some people only tendered for one, some for more. There were different categories that we had to break it down into to try and cover off all the different areas of council's media needs. That's about all I'd say on that at the moment. Just very, very happy to support this as a photographer by trade. So the one thing I will make a comment on is that I think the number of tenderers, photographers' work has dropped off since COVID. So putting a plug out there for all the local photographers if you need one. I think some of the councils were under the guise of a great local photographer this afternoon, and they're the experts. They know how to make you look much better than you can using your mobile phone. So take advantage of that because they do a really good job. That's all I'll say on that at the moment. But very, very happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Payne?
Yes, just to reiterate Councillor Egan's comments about, I think there are over 30 different tenderers put their hand up for this, 7 different categories. We've got 4 different photography categories and 3 different videography categories. They are all important, they're specialised skills, and special thanks to the council officers who must have had the most extraordinary set of spreadsheets to work out how they would nominate who would win the various tenderers. I don't have to name the tenderers, but I do think Councillor Egan does. And on that note, I'm handing back.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that to Councillor Duffy.
I was just going to say a thank you to all of these wonderful people that record the history of what happens here in Nillumbik through photos and through video. We see this, even in, the Nillumbik news that's just come out to people's letterboxes, the promotional videos that council does, the awards ceremonies, the citizenship ceremonies. There are so many ways that, council group photos. Yeah, there are all sorts of things. And I think for me, it's capturing moments creates memories, and it shows the good work that happens in council and these people. I'm very grateful for the record that they keep, because most of us much prefer to look at a good photo or to watch an interesting video clip than to go through lots and lots of words on a piece of page. So it was really just a cheerio and a thank you to all of the people that help council record the moments that happen here in our history for the community and for the council record.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I think it's true, a photo is worth 1,000 words. It's lovely to have a group photo as well. I think it's also important to remember it's not just what's in the photo, but also to notice what's not in the photo. I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. And Councillor Egan will I possibly name the successful tenderers, although I think it is enough just to have them up on screen. Up to you, Councillor Egan.
Yes, as you can see by the list there, in order of number, we've got a huge range. I know some of them personally. Some of them have multiple staff members, some are one-man bands. They all have different skills. You can see some of the different categories there. We've got the 3 video and the 2 photography. So congratulations to all of those, and I look forward to seeing all those in the next, and my 8th year on council. Thank you. Yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. The next item is the tender report for the Chair and Facilitator of the CEO Employment Matters Committee. I'll look for a motion, Councillor Perkins.
Happy to move the motion as per the papers, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Duffy, is your hand up to second?
My hand was up to ask a procedural question through the Chair, if that's okay. I was wanting to put forward, just to foreshadow an alternative motion. So when would I do that?
When you get your 3 minutes to speak, that's an opportunity to foreshadow an alternate motion. Seconded, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
There were a number of presented tenders for this position. As the Chair and Facilitation of the CEO Employment Matters Committee, it is a statutory requirement that Council actually does get an external facilitator and chair for this very important committee. The committee met and considered the applications, and that committee made a recommendation, and this report follows on from that recommendation of the committee. 6 of the 7 councillors were there at that committee meeting. One councillor was unable to attend through being on leave, but I think it's fair to say that the overwhelming support of the committee has been to recommend this who would be the preferred tenderer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
Yes, this is the tender tonight that differs from all of the others, because it's actually one where councillors have input, whereas all of the others we don't. So this is purely been advised, once we had the short list of 4 that applied, we were the ones that made the decisions. And yes, we still had a score and a rating system to vote on these, I suppose, to get our scores up. But this is the one that is different to all of the others. And I'm happy to say that it did come in under budget as well. So the Councillor Perkins will announce that shortly.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? Councillor Duffy.
Thanks. That's where I'd like to put forward an alternative recommendation that Council in point 1 revised the preferred tenderer from I'm not going to name names, but am I able to indicate that?
So if you use the number or letter that they're referred
so
to in the
from
report.
tenderer B to tenderer D, and that's based on the scoring and comments in the updated consolidated scorecard. I wasn't able to attend the meeting where councillors gathered to discuss this in person. It was during the time of my approved leave of absence. So yes, it's my alternate motion, and I think I'm allowed to speak for a few minutes on that.
Councillor
Is that
Duffy, I believe
correct?
you're foreshadowing an alternate motion. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you're allowed the rest of your time to speak, so go for it.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a really important role. Councillors, we only have the capacity to employ 2 people at council. One is the CEO and one is the independent chair of the CEO Employment Matters Committee. I take this role really seriously, and so, in my efforts of looking at the tenderers that came forward, they were provided referees, and in a confidential, very private conversations, I reached out to the councillors who were made known as referees for the tenderers, and I got some very important feedback. So, I added that information into the scorecard, and that's why I have a different opinion to that of the remainder of the council group that put forward a preferred tenderer. So, based on the recommendations of other councillors that I value and trust, that's where I would like to see council go a different way, and there's more savings to be made with the tenderer that I'm proposing is considered and employed by council to do this very important role. So I'll just leave it at that to say that, I think it's an important role, and the people who put their tenders forward all offer great skills and service, and there was one who shone out to me more so than the others, and that's what I'm hoping that council might be able to consider appointing tenderer D.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors? Councillor Perkins, right of reply?
No, thank you.
I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? And that is carried. The next item is...
Could I announce the successful tenderer,
yes,
please?
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I only forgot 2 out of many, so I'm happy about that.
Congratulations to Margaret Devlin, Centre for Organisational Development, for being awarded the tender, and the sum is $54,200 exclusive of GST over the life of the contract. It's a 4-year term.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. The next item is the instrument of appointment and authorisation under the Planning and Environment Act. I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. I might say as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you.
Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Yes, thank you. So for those who follow council meetings might have noticed that this has come up a number of times in the last couple of meetings. And on this occasion we have a new staff member that needs to be authorised. Oh, sorry, my screen's just gone off. So the reason that we do this, an instrument of authorisation is required to be endorsed by council in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020. So if any staff change, that's why we need to bring this to council. So meaning that council must appoint authorised officers for the purposes of enforcing and administering the Planning and Environment Act 1987. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Yes, I'd just like to reiterate that we have more instruments than a symphony orchestra right now in the planning department, but not as many people. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. And that brings us to the next item, which is informal meetings of councillors' records. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to move the recommendation that Council, in accordance with item 20 of Council's Governance Rule, Meeting Procedures, receives the informal meetings of councillors' records, attachment 1 for the meetings held.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Egan.
This is basically the last one of the year for this, so you can see by the list in the papers we've had 8 meetings, including an extraordinary one. We've had the PCC committee meetings, we've had RTAC, which I'm on, we've had the Patton Hill Bushland Reserve System User Group Advisory Committee meeting, Arts and Culture, councillor briefings, we've had ESAC, council meetings and an extraordinary council meeting. So this is basically a record of where councillors get together for whatever means and whatever meetings are held. So we just have to move that. It's procedural.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Eyre, any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. There are no notices of motion, no delegates' reports, no supplementary or urgent business, no confidential reports, and so I close the meeting at 8:30. Thank you, everyone.